Recently, a member of the community asked me a really interesting question, and they said, do you think Grand Peace Online has served its purpose? And I'm not gonna lie, to that, I still don't really have an answer for that, but it did get me thinking of GPO's past, sparking the topic of today's video. This is the complete timeline of GPO. Essentially, we're going to be looking at Grand Peace Online's history from update 0 all the way to now, which would be update 10. But honestly, getting straight into this, because it's going to be a long video, hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's get this to like 1,000 likes. And without further ado, let's take a look at Grand Peace Online's history. Grand Peace Online's launch. This is said to be the best time to actually be playing GPO. During this time period, everybody was experiencing the world for the first time, leveling, figuring out what to do, and even creating crews to explore the seas with. Once most people got to max level, or should I say close to max level, which was only level 105 at the time, there was only about 5 different things that people were doing afterwards. Farming private servers for fruits, and devil fruits used to spawn every 2 hours. However, it got changed to a chance to spawn every 1 through 4 hours. Ship farming, which is probably the best way to get fruits, or the most consistent way of getting fruits. Boss rotating for drops, which should usually be Arlong, Buggy, and Gorilla King. And I'm not gonna lie to you, Arlong was actually a really fun boss. I don't think Phoeyu has made a boss as interesting as it was to fight Arlong. I mean, for crying out loud, people used to utilize the Bari Bari no Mi just to fight Arlong properly. No other boss has had that same level of gameplay since then, actually, honestly. And the last thing people would do would be chilling in Shellstown. Now, chilling in Shellstown included a lot of things. Starting mini wars, practicing PvPing with other people, etc. And then you had the really rich players that would trade fruits among themselves or host little fruit wars. Now, fruits were the most rare things in the game, and most of the player base actually didn't have any devil fruits, except for like Sukes and Baris. But there were people, including me and my crew, that spent their lives, and I mean day and night, day after day, farming for fruits. And a lot of the people who were trying to trade for fruits were really just out here getting scammed. Thankfully, it's not as hard to get fruits now as it was back in update 0. During update 0 as well, crews were really making their rounds in GPO. Most crews were formed before the game actually released, and during update 0 there were only 2 crews that were actually really popular and were consistently giving out fruits to the crews, and one of them being the Silver Moon Pirates. Yes, that is my crew, because we spent our lives farming for fruits, so we used to hand down fruits to each other. And the Whitebeard Pirates. I'm not too sure, some people used to say Whitebeard used to hack, but Whitebeard always had fruits. I'm talking about he would host fruit tournaments like almost every single day, and these weren't just normal fruits, they were Logias. I don't know how, but he always had fruits in rotation. And then finally, 1 or 2 weeks before update 1 came around, Phoeyu put up the infinite fruit notifier for 9,000 Robux. And it was expensive as heck. But the reason he made it that price is because he didn't actually want people buying the infinite notifier. But he was like, if you can afford it, here you go. But he didn't actually want the whole player base running around with devil fruits at first. He wanted GPO to actually be hard. I wonder where that motivation went. However, to my understanding, a lot of people actually did buy the infinite notifier, because at the time it was kind of worth it. Devil fruits were rare, and it was hard to tell when fruits spawned. You had to run around almost every single island, I'm not kidding you not, you had to go to every single island that was currently in the game and run around every hour. So the infinite notifier made life way easier. And lastly, the highlight of update 0, the Phoeyu gem users. Or should I say House Alucard. Now, if you don't know what the Phoeyu gem was, it was rumored to give boosted stats. From my understanding, it was an extra 400 SP, and back in update 0, that is a lot. This was literally back when the level cap was 105, so you can see how the difference in stats would be for the boosted users. There was a bunch of different assumptions of ways of how you could get the Phoeyu gem. Digging up chests, people were saying it was like a 1 out of 1,000 chance to get from digging chests. So you had a lot of the player base going to the town of beginnings and digging, literally digging. And the other way people thought you could get it is through just chests in general. So people would rotate town of beginning and Shell's town because they had the most chests laying around the place and just keep rotating those. However, everybody was wasting their time because all of this turned out to not even be true. The Phoeyu gem wasn't real, and these lies were spread by the group called ALOT.
I don't know how to get it. I've been told a lot of different methods and ways that you can obtain this, but I'm not sure which one is true or not, so I guess we'll be finding out in this video. But in this clip you can see the person, you know what I'm saying, just checking it out, you know what I'm saying, doing a little 360 at a crystal. I don't know, like I said, how to get it, but I've been told that you can get it from literally just searching a map. I've been told there's a riddle for it. I've been told it spawns instead of a DF fruit, you know what I'm saying. Like, I've been told a lot of things, bro. But regardless, you know what I'm saying, once you get the gem and you click, I'm pretty sure a piece of dialogue comes up. It gives you two options. You can either use it or you can either give it back. Now,
and the fanboy division, the Jackson Pirates, which for some reason found it fun to come into my live streams and kill me with their boosted stats. I kid you not, almost every single day. But sometime in the future, I did end up killing their leader. So there's that. How did ALOT and the Jackson Pirates obtain these boosted stats, you ask? Well, there's only one answer, that being Phoeyu. Although they lied and said that they got their stats through the Phoeyu gem, it was actually given to them by Phoeyu himself, who actually played along with this joke and gave them a fake gem to bait people with. The reality of the situation is that the people who had their stats boosted were given it for helping with the creation of GPO in some way, shape or form. So essentially, everyone that had boosted stats were friends with Phoeyu himself. During update 1, GPO gave us a glimpse of what every other update was gonna be like for the next 3 years. We just didn't know that yet. GPO was still new and everyone was still very much in love with the game. Update 1 brought about the Christmas update with the Santa boss. That included what we thought was going to be a once in a lifetime seasonal event drop weapon, the candy cane, along with Skypea, the Skypean race, along with the racial ability, which was gliding, completely useless, the Bomu Bomu no Mi, Goro, and an outstanding 2000 perfect blocks for Ken Haki. Which, to be fair, 200 was kind of crazy, but there were methods of making it an AFK farm simulator. But even once you got the Ken Haki, you still had to train it to get max dodges, so it is what it is, I guess. It also brought us a Nell and their Nell drops with the new max level that everyone was excited to actually grind for in order to become stronger. Because at the time, PvP was balanced and fun, but we did want more health and stamina to play with in order to make builds a little bit more unique. Pretty much everybody was grinding for the new candy cane weapon because Phoeyu said it was never going to come back after this update, or after the Christmas event finished at least. This made most of the player base think that every year or every seasonal event there would be a super rare limited time drop that would end up going away after the holiday was done. At first, it was kind of like that, but in the future, Phoeyu added a way to just buy seasonal stuff with Robux. More importantly, Update 1 was home to the rise of crews. Everybody, and I mean everybody, took their crews seriously during this era of Grand Peace Online. And at the time, there were crews of people considered Yonko crews. Some of them being Alpha Creed, the Whitebeard Pirates as mentioned as before, Silver Moon Pirates, which is my crew, and the head of the crop, ALOT / Jackson Pirates. Back then, crews would gain notoriety really just based on how big their crews were and how powerful their players were in PvP. There were a lot of other big crews in the game, but most of them didn't actually partake in PvP events or were good at PvP in general. So they didn't really matter. But apart from that, that's all Update 1 had, Santa and Skypea. This update brought a lot of hype with it, mainly because of the inclusion of the first mythical Zoan, the Tori Tori no Mi, and everybody was excited to get their hands on this fruit. With all the fruit trading that was going on and people getting scammed, Phoeyu also decided to add a trading room, which actually didn't help that, because people found out how to scam with it. Other than that, update 2 brought about another new fruit, the Zushi no Mi, which was actually really good for PvP, with some new weapons, the Gravity Blade and Neptune's Trident, which was, even till this day, one of my favorite weapons in the game. We got another glimpse of Phoeyu adding non-canon content to the game with the hoverboard, which got faster if you have the Zushi eaten, and you could ride it on land and water. Along with that, we got 2 new main bosses, Neptune, that you had to fight after making your way through the Fishman Cave, which was actually pretty cool. It's annoying to navigate through now, but it's still cool. And Gravito, which was actually fun to fight at first, because people used to use a method that would trap him inside of the barrels that you could bring over from Shell's Town, which made the game kind of interesting. Getting a group of friends to go over to Shell's, bring all the barrels all the way back to Gravito's fort, and also you needed to have enough money to even buy the barrels, was an interesting method that added some sort of different gameplay style to the game. But Phoeyu hates fun, so he patched it after a couple of days. And we got a new level cap, which was 250. And once you got to the new level cap, you could fight to your heart's content with the new arena game mode, which consisted of 1v1s and 2v2s and crew battles, which no one actually used because crew battles were terrible. However, because of the arena game mode, people chilled in servers a little bit less. And I meant overworld servers. Because what was the point of doing huge crew battles in Shell's Town when you could just farm 1v1s and 2v2s, friend? If you ask me, this might be one of Phoeyu's laziest updates ever. The space between update 2 and update 3 was about 3 to 4 months, and it was the first glimpse of what was going to be coming in our future updates. What I mean by that is us having to wait half a year for one single update. Update 3 brought us a new max level of 325, one new island, which was Marineford, and one new fruit, which was the Gora no Mi, which was actually kind of useless for this update, unless you're using it for PvP. Sea Beast, along with Sea Beast armor. Sea Beast took forever to spawn in back then, but if you had high bounty, they would spawn in faster. It still took a while. However, the Sea Beast core drop did make ship farming pretty efficient. So back then, Sea Beast core had a bunch of value. And Phoeyu added the arena mode dungeon that could be used to help get devil fruits. And what I mean by this is it was a wave simulator of mobs. If you got to wave 25, you got a chance of a rare fruit and higher. And if you got to like wave 40, it was guaranteed legendary or something like that. But most people went to wave 25 and just died because, again, it was rare fruit and higher, so you did have a chance of getting the Logias, and it took like 30 plus minutes to even get to wave 25. I'm not gonna lie, I hated dungeons. I only played it a handful of times, and I've never, till this day, I have never made a single video centered around dungeon farming. Pretty interesting, right? Now, if you haven't noticed by now, I haven't covered a single half update, because who cares about half updates? Yes, a lot of them brought up some really good fruits. For example, update 3.5 brought us the Gamu no Mi. However, I don't care. So, update 4. Believe it or not, the gap between update 3 and 4 was 5 months, which is almost half a year, with the new max level being brought up to 425. This update also brought along the second sea, which was home to Alabaster, Krakens, Crocodile, 2 sword style trainer, which till this day was actually one of the more well-made boss fights since ALOT. Not too sure why Phoeyu didn't keep this level of creativity. Hockey V2, and the best feature during this update, you would never guess it, Karoo Racing. Yes, sir. Career racing was the best thing to ever be implemented into Grand Peace Online. I kid you not, this was the most sorry, lazy excuse for a game mode ever. Phoeyu literally slapped some rocks in a cylinder and said, here you go. What the heck was this? Who thought this was a good idea? And why did Phoeyu put no effort into this? And Carews were locked behind Robux. So a lot of the player base didn't even have Carews. I'm not gonna lie, Phoeyu didn't think this one through at all. Along with some grip animation updates. In terms of fruits that came along with update 3.5, you got the Gamu, Sauna, and the Kilo. The only good thing to come out of update 4 was 2 sword style, in my opinion. The way you got it, the method of getting the skills, and just the content behind 2 sword style was very entertaining. And I really don't know why Phoeyu didn't carry over this level of creativity to future updates. Everything else was kind of mid. Krakens were annoying to farm, even though they had good drops and helped you get devil fruits. Career racing was terrible, and it displayed the fact that Phoeyu would actually just throw any last minute idea into the game without a second thought in the world, and everybody around him just agreed to it. And everything else in the update was just a clone of previous update. Grand Peace Online's first anniversary update. We have to talk about it. The very first GPO anniversary update was honestly beautiful. The music, the little speeches that all the devs gave, and it was a live event, which means you had to have been in the game when the event started so we could all spectate this beauty together. This was honestly a once in a lifetime thing that Phoeyu would never do again, at least not to this level. And for once, you could actually tell Phoeyu put a little bit of effort and thought into something, and honestly, we appreciate that. First anniversary was pretty cool. The GPO anniversary island actually came out of the water. It was pretty cool. And the prestige candy cane, which was a drop that you could get from the anniversary event, was a nice touch to the whole thing, because candy cane was one of the highest valued weapons in the game, and a prestige version of that, because Phoeyu has been playing a lot of League of Legends, is pretty cool. I would have thought it would have been gold like prestige skins were, but it doesn't really matter. But that would make prestige candy cane one of the most valuable items in the game, even till this day. It was a smart move, making the rarest item in the game a prestige version, because everybody, and I mean every single player in GPO history, AFK farmed these presents. I mean, for crying out loud, I even bought Roblox Premium for the first time on an alt account just so I could have it in the server to AFK multiple presents at once. And after 2 whole days of farming, all day, all night, I didn't get anything, unfortunately. But the players that played the game since Update 0's launch got prestige bags, so I was happy with that. The gap between Update 4 and Update 5 was, I hate to say this, 7 months, by the way. However, to counteract that, there was actually a lot added to this update. We got the new Infinite Fruit Notifier rework, the new visual fruit model rework to Goro, Magu, that actually looked pretty good. We got Bomi's log posts, and this was good so you didn't have to look for which log posts you needed individually, and they were all under one belt. Phoeyu changed the speeds of each of the ships in the game to make them better. It's actually just a good quality of life update. Phoeyu added Thriller Bark, which was pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty dark. You couldn't really see anything, but it was still a pretty decent update. But the only good drop, in my opinion, to come out of that was the gauntlets and the armor that you got from the bosses. Moria was pretty terrible, I'm not gonna lie. He just spammed abilities and he could hit you from any part of the map, and he had a million health, so yeah, pretty annoying to deal with. And let's not talk about the Soul King. Yeah, it was a good addition to the update, came with a decent amount of content, but you could only farm the Soul King at 6 AM or 6 PM in IRL time. or at least for me. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that implementation of how to fight him was pretty annoying. You could really only fight him once a day to try get a 0.5% drop. Honestly, super stupid. Not 100% sure, but I think Phoeyu was trying to pull a blocks fruits there. And then observation hotkey v2, which forced you to play Osu. Now I know I said there was quite a bit of stuff added to this update, but that is actually a lot of content for a GPO update. Was it 7 months worth the wait? No, it wasn't. Phoeyu could have got that done in 2, but I don't know. It's Phoeyu we're talking about. With update 6, Phoeyu added quite a bit of good new changes to the game, and it was actually one of the more in-depth updates that we've gotten in comparisons to the ones before it. Actual content, the biggest of which being that of the Battle Royale game mode that was added to the game. GPO adding the Battle Royale game mode was actually a big deal. I and a lot of other players and OG players that had quit the game were looking forward to this and actually got back on the game just to try this game mode out. A lot of players were bored with the current state of the game and the updates, which were the same thing over and over and over, and it doesn't help that you're waiting half a year or longer for an update to just be the exact same thing as the update before it. Literally adding new fruits, a new island, and a new level cap over and over wasn't that entertaining, and it wasn't rewarding. So the Battle Royale game mode was a breath of fresh air for everybody. Even though a lot of people doubted its capabilities and doubted the game mode was even going to be good in the first place, it was needed for the game, or it probably would have died. And if I'm being quite honest with you, the first month of the Battle Royale game mode was wonderful. Everybody was new and experiencing it for the first time. It felt kind of similar to how refreshing playing GPO on release was. This was short-lived. It quickly became a hacker's playground. Hackers were rampant after that first couple of weeks. Oh. Did I forget to mention the runners and the teamers? For some reason, after the first couple of weeks, people just kept running when they got low. And back then, the lower health you had, it didn't really slow you down. So unless you were limping, you could honestly run away from any battle. It was annoying to handle. And then the teamers and solos. Oh my gosh, the teamers and solos was unbearable. It was literally just making it unplayable. So having to deal with runners, teamers, and hackers, the funness of BR started to decline after that first couple of weeks. After that first month, it became a little bit unbearable. Anyways, update 6 also brought us the Yami Yami no Mi, aka the Dark Fruit, and Dragon Claw, which was pretty useless. Now, Dragon Claw was good for when it released, but now no one uses that now. Along with that, we got the Universal Hub update / revamp, which made it easier to invite and find parties, invite people to parties and find new parties. And with the BR implemented, it made some sort of universal queuing system depending on your region, which was actually pretty good. GPO's 2nd year anniversary. Now, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I spoke about the first one. The second one was pretty terrible, I'm not gonna lie. Less people combined got the new prestige weapons than the year before of people getting the PCC. It was a waste of time and energy, and I quit after the first couple of hours. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, Phoeyu didn't actually change anything up. It was the exact same thing, and because of that, it kind of didn't have the same feeling. It wasn't the same. Not to mention, the weapons that got prestiged were pretty trash and useless and weren't ever really utilized outside of having the prestige version of it. Should have made a prestige trident. I'm not too sure. Apart from Grand Peace Online's first update, update 7 was the shortest time we had between 2 updates. The gap from update 6 to update 7 was actually only 2 months, which in GPO terms means very good. However, update 7 didn't actually bring anything significant to the game. Most people consider the update 7 a 0.5 update, which on most occasions are not significant enough to even cover. We got 2 new weapons that were locked behind the battle pass, and are actually completely overlooked now. We got Yuki, which was actually pretty good on release, but Phoeyu ended up nerfing it. And we got a Tori rework, which was long overdue, but was still not that crazy. It wasn't crazy enough to center a whole update around that specifically. And a new BR map, which was the Christmas. That's honestly it. Moving on. Now, update 8 was pretty special. Not only did Phoeyu state that there was going to be no more 0.5 updates moving forward, but it was the first time Phoeyu would start doing, or should I say, trying to do new cool stuff with the game. This update introduced the Rose Kingdom, or should I say Dressrosa, which gave us 4 new fruits: Venom, OP, Spring, and the Heal fruits. Dressrosa had a gladiator ring, which basically works like the mob dungeon wave simulator that was already in the universe hub, but from this you could actually win legendary chests along with boss drop. As well as that, Phoeyu added the factory raid mode, which was honestly a chore because you had to do it and complete it multiple times in order to get the factory level to where the boss actually spawned in. And then once the boss actually spawned in, you had to kill him before the lava raised to the top. So it was a timed boss fight. That shit was not fun. It wasn't fun. Now, the more interesting part of the update is that Phoeyu actually added Pika and Doflamingo. Now, in this cycle, you had to defeat the family members that were located around Dressrosa. After you defeat those family members, Pika would actually spawn in a cool way actually. And after you finally defeat Pika, he would actually spawn in Doflamingo. The only downside to this is in between Pika being defeated and Doffy actually spawning in, you had to wait 15 minutes for some reason. I'm not gonna lie, Phoeyu, the premium payout is apparent in you. Why do you have to wait 15 minutes? And when Doflamingo spawned, once you got him to about half HP, he would summon a bird cage, which introduced like a mini game. You had to go to the areas that had cannons, defeat the mobs around the cannons, and use the cannon to shoot into the bird cage in order to destroy it. Whilst you're doing this, the bird cage is actually gradually coming in, and that was actually pretty cool. After you do that, you just need to defeat Doffy all over again with max health, and yeah, you have to do that over and over and over and over and over again for the 0.5 drops, which is actually pretty crazy to say out loud. So you have to defeat the family members all over again that are scattered around Dressrosa. You have to defeat Pika again, and then you have to wait 15 minutes again in order to fight Doffy, half HP him, birdcage, and then fight him again at full HP in order to try get a 0.5 drop. Do you see where I'm going with this now? Yeah, it's kind of tedious, and Phoeyu wanted to drain you of your life's energy. Mainly, it's pretty smart because it was a premium payout simulator. Like literally, you had to sell your soul to get any drops this update. And this update probably made Phoeyu a bunch of money because people literally you had to wait physically in game to do anything. That is a scam. Well, this update also came with the cyborg and the cyborg fighting style, which was actually pretty cool, and a actually interesting way to get gear 2nd or gear 2. You had to go to a poneglyph and do a series of different quests or requirements and go to a new island with a different poneglyph and do whatever it tells you to do there. It was actually pretty interesting, I'm not gonna lie. Weird ways to use poneglyphs. Poneglyphs could have been used way better to make the game way more interesting in order to unlock something way cooler in the future, but who am I to argue? As well as that, we got some custom grip animations and a new way of obtaining mythical fruits, which incentivize paying to win. Well, at least Phoeyu tried, right? Now, this update could be considered the peak of Phoeyu's creativity levels for Grand Peace Online. Impel Down. I won't lie, this update was actually pretty interesting. Impel Down introduced 5 levels, of which you're thrown into a jail with nothing and have to kind of work your way through each floor, opening chests and getting equipment, kind of like how Battle Royale works. But on each floor, you're going to be defeating different floor mobs, mini bosses, and then the floor keepers in order to move on to the next floor. It was a very interesting game mode. It was an interesting way of progressing. It was interesting implementation to the game. And at the end of it, you were able to gather all the points you earned through playing through in order to unlock and get things like SP resets, clan rerolls, legendary chests, and the new drops that came with update 9. And the shop would go into rotation. It was actually pretty creative. Using points you earned through playing through the floors in order to get rewards was a good incentive to keep playing. However, it was very time consuming. As you've noticed, everything in GPO is. Now it could take anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes plus, sometimes even longer, to complete the Impel Down rotation. As well as that, you need to do it a lot of times to be able to afford certain drops and rewards. So you kind of needed to know life Impel Down to get any good stuff from it. And there was also a Halloween event that dropped the same time. It dropped with some good gear and some good weapons. On top of that, crews got revamped and they added flags around each of the islands in order for you to grind out infamy, and the top 50 crews were able to access the new mythical weapon Ace, which was Goldie Roger's weapon in the anime, and it was pretty powerful in game too. There was 2 new races, Vampire and Dulan being limited time, and a new fruit that no one seems to use anymore, Buddha. And sometime in the future, Phoeyu added Abyssal Karate and Suit. Those don't count. Update 10. Yeah, I mean, what is there honestly to say about Update 10? The UI revamp, we got King's Fruit, or the lack thereof King's Fruit. We got island reworks that made the game look like a One Piece game bandit beta revamp. The All-Seeing Eye revamp to store your fruit inside of it, which was actually pretty good, very useful. And we got a mobile. You can play the game on the mobile. Yeah, that's a thing now. And that's honestly it for the history of Grand Peace Online. There's much more drama that was left out and things like that happen along the way, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't contribute anything to the game itself, which is why I left it out of the video. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That is the full history on GPO. And if you guys actually get 1,000 likes, we can continue this series with a lot of the other games on this platform. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.